that has to do, I would say, with enterprise applications. So I think I don't need to educate you that the cloud is a disruptive force also within our customer base, and we see more and more companies moving applications towards the cloud, or to develop new applications in the cloud. We call that cloud transformation. Sometimes people subscribe for new applications like Salesforce, or Workplace, or ServiceNow, and others. But there's definitely an ongoing trend that will also continue on. But getting to the second topic, hybrid modernization, not all applications are being moved to the cloud. There is definitely good reasons that I will explain also later on security, sometimes on company policies, to continue on with your applications running in your data center. But there might be areas where you say, okay, it definitely makes sense to, I would say, do certain things, develop certain things in the cloud. But then the question is, how do I get the cloud integrated into my on-premise applications that I'm running? And we definitely see an ongoing, I would say, momentum going on in securing and optimizing operations of these applications. Definitely, I would say regulations, audit rules become more strict. I would say the requirements on running your applications 24/7 without any kind of unpredictable downtimes is, I think it's an ongoing topic for years. But if you move more and more applications into the internet, or want to improve the user experience, it becomes even more important. And definitely cost savings are all over, unfortunately, but I'm also convinced that we have good offerings here for you that I will present today. So I just picked these three, but I will tell you not every month, but I would say every year when we do our release planning and roadmap planning, we are screening what you as customers are doing and what are the relevant trends in the market that we want to apply for our AWS Natural 2050 plus story. And AWS Natural 2050 plus is our long-term strategy that we continuously review and saying, is there anything in there that touches your pain points, your challenges, and in order to continue on with your business critical core applications you have developed on top of AWS Natural. And the new things we have added here this year is, as you can see on the lower left-hand side, is security and high availability. So that was definitely a focus on the new products that we have released, on features that we have delivered. And then also continue on our, I would say, our kind of a twofold strategy to support those customers continuing running the AWS Natural applications on a mainframe environment on these systems, but also supporting all these customers who are making the decision running AWS Natural applications on Linux, containers, Kubernetes, or even moving their applications in a cloud environment. And to be honest, and that's something I'm proud of, I think AWS and Natural is unique. I think it's the only mainframe technology where you can seamlessly exchange the IT infrastructure underneath without losing any kind of investment you have put on all into this unique business logic that you have coded and developed over decades. And we will continue on helping in the generational change, and you will hear more about this topic on talent management later on today. But also, an application is only as good as it can be opening up to new technologies. And we believe, and we are supporting API enablement since many years. Maybe we have called it in a different way in the past, but opening up your business logic into reusable standard interfaces like REST APIs is definitely an accelerating trend in order to share your business logic with other departments, with other agencies, or with your business partners or even customers, as well as how you can share data with anyone else. All of that is not the end of the road. We believe in enterprise applications need to be ready to connect to the cloud, to API management or Internet of Things, or new data science and data analytic capabilities, or intelligent automation where you start automating your business processes, your supply chains, your approvals, whatever I would say crosses multiple departments. But I want to do a quick detour, even if AWS Natural is on the top of the list for today. But I want to tell you that we as Software AG, we are quite proud that because all of the other products that we have within our Software AG product portfolio are complementary pieces to AWS and Natural. It could be like the API management solutions we have around web methods. We have market leading technology around iPaaS connecting to the cloud. We are a market leader in integrated Internet of Things platforms, but also for strategic portfolio management or process discovery and mining. And for those of you who have not maybe heard that, but Software AG recently acquired a data integration company called StreamSets, a Silicon Valley-based company, and you will also hear more about this, how this will extend the capability to connect Adabas data with any kind of cloud platform that your company is currently using. But you wait and see how that can look like for your AWS environment. In order to give an overview, because this whole thing on cloud hybrid has so many dimensions that I would like to take a single view here for a moment, showing you all the options that we are recommending to you where an AWS Natural application can run. At the end of the day, it's always your decision. I think it's not that we force you to make a decision, but your company, your agency is making a decision how the future of the IT infrastructure should look like, and then you can make the decision how AWS Natural should be applied for that. We will definitely continue on premises running on z/OS and on Linux, either I would say native or virtualized. But we definitely see customers running hybrid, meaning parts of the Natural applications continually running on an on-premises data center environment, but parts are already getting moved into the cloud. And we have first customers. It's still, I would say, in an early phase, but we have proven cases where AWS Natural applications have been moved into the cloud in production, either on Azure, AWS, or Google Cloud platforms. And once AWS Natural applications are running on this public cloud infrastructures, you can decide to apply containers or Kubernetes or other virtualization technologies. So the good news for you is you can pick and choose the best IT infrastructure, but you are not limited to it in order you want to move to a new one as you are moving into the future. What we have done is we work closely together with Azure, AWS, and Google to develop blueprints, but you will see that also later on. I want to start now first talking about what's new around the IBM C systems mainframe, and then I'm moving on what's new around AWS Natural on Linux and cloud. Most of you have heard that Adabas Natural, I would say, is utilizing the zip processor on an IBM C systems mainframe. running eligible workload on a zip processor and moving workload from a general purpose processor or general processor on a zip. We have started that journey. It's now already, wow, it's 10 years now. Wow. I just recognized it now. But we continuously added more capabilities so that you can also move more workload on a zip processor. And the new products that we released this year is called Natural Batch for DB2 for zip. Because some of the customers also in the United States, some customers are running Natural together with DB2 on ZOS and not with Adabas, or some do it with DB2 and Adabas. So we decided, okay, we also need to help those customers who are running Natural applications with DB2 in order also to utilize the zip processing capabilities. So the product that we are offering here, and I have a more detailed slide right after this one, is called Natural for DB2 for zip, and we have started, I would say, releasing the product first, addressing natural batch applications, and next year we are going to release also a product that will support CICS online applications with DB2. The good thing is our solution is also leveraging the zip offloading capabilities by IBM. IBM itself also offload DB2 workload on a zip processor. And we have designed our product in such a way that it, I would say, not only moves natural batch workload on a zip processor, but also is leveraging IBM's zip processing in addition. A product that is not brand new, but that we continuously also improving is AWS encryption for ZOS. So for those of you who have strong policies to secure and protect your sensitive data, data at rest or data in flight, this product helps you. We have closely integrated Adabas encryption for ZOS with the key management systems and with the encryption technology that is delivered with the IBM Z mainframe. And it complements also what IBM is doing around dataset and disk protection. But protecting the data for some customers is not enough. And that's the reason why we also release and continuously enhance our AWS auditing for ZOS product. Most of our customers are telling us, specifically in areas around government or finance, and saying there's an increased number of audits coming to an DBA or coming to the data center and saying, could you tell me when certain data have been accessed by a certain person in a certain time period for a certain record or for a certain database file? Yeah. So all of this information now can be tracked, and it can not only be tracked, but also securely made available to various stakeholders so that they can run audit reports much more easily and much faster in order to comply any kind of regulations, legal regulations, policies your company is facing. So let's talk about natural batch for DB2 for zip for a minute. On the left-hand side on the diagram, you see that's a classical natural application running on natural on ZOS, using our natural for DB2 product called NDB. That's a product code accessing IBM DB2 on ZOS on a general processor. So what we have done and what we have seen is, first of all, the natural batch for zip product is out there for 10 years now. That kind of product enables to run your natural batch applications on a zip processor. And the new product we have released is this box on the right-hand side, which says natural batch for DB2 for zip. So that's a Java-based product using JDBC accessing DB2 by the DRDA interface. And by leveraging this kind of technology, we will, I would say, allow you to move processing from a general processor on a zip processor without doing any kind of application code change or without migrating any data. We are just running portions of your applications on a zip processor, helping you to run more efficiently, to save cost, but also maybe to have a better scaling opportunities and performance opportunities than you had in the past. Yeah. So it's not replacing Natural for DB2 because, as I said, it's still there, and we have started with batch, and with the October release this year, we're supporting batch applications for DB2, and next year in October we are going to release another product which is leveraging the same technology, supporting CICS online applications to pretty much achieve the same. Besides that, we have put a lot of effort in listening to you. So as you know, we have switched our idea management or customer requirement management system from Brainstorm on a platform that is called AHA. In order to give you more transparency, what are your customer requirements doing? And most of these things here are also coming from you. So we have a number of natural language extensions, and I'm happy to work with Becky, also giving you more details on the details. But for today, it's more an overview. We are supporting the latest version on DB2 on ZOS, but also a new supporting DSOM extended formats, including how to manage this and predict. We have continued enhancing our global buffer pool, utilizing the 64-bit memory cache to go above the bar, and giving you new statistics in order to manage the buffer pool. Yeah. And also along the RPC server, we added security things here in order to support the impersonations and dynamic tracing option for the RPC server. On the other side, we don't have a major version of AWS US this year. This will come next year, but we definitely improved and enhanced the capabilities of the so-called add-on products around Adabas Review, Adabas Sub-Security. We also provide a kind of a first preview, how I would say the next generation of DBA tools for database ZOS can look like with the Adabas Manager 9.1. And we are happy, even if this is a preview, also to get your feedback. Specifically, I assume there are many DBAs here in the call. I know that you're doing your job precisely, professionally for decades. Yeah, but we also need your feedback, because there's this next generation of DBAs coming, on how things can be simplified, automated, and maybe presented in such a way that a person maybe who have never seen a green screen before can also administrate a complex distributed database environment. We believe the mainframe is here to stay because it's a secure, resilient platform for high volume transaction processing, for your business critical applications. We believe it's not in conflict on what's going on in the cloud, because we believe the cloud has an unbeatable speed of delivering new technologies and innovation on demand on a single click to your company. So we as IBM are promoting and recommending our customers that want to modernize an AWS Natural application running on a mainframe also to take a look on what we call hybrid cloud modernization. The good thing is we have all technology in place in order to expose business logic or data to the cloud, but also vice versa. So it's not that you take things out and you redevelop it in the cloud, but you can nicely integrate new applications you develop in the cloud and integrate it back with your transactional processing that are continually running on the mainframe. We believe it's the best of two worlds, and it's your decision how you do the split or the movement. And the products behind, as you can see here, is our rock solid EntireX middleware, but also our Conex data integration products or our event replicator for Adabase that have proven in many customer scenarios to securely access and provide the data to external systems. We will also continually enhancing EntireX, specifically also this time, as EntireX not only supports Natural on ZOS, but also IBM Enterprise COBOL on ZOS. We have put a lot of focus here on making it as efficient, as zero footprint, as non-invasive as possible, to connect EntireX into your core applications on the mainframe, but also connecting it into our webMethods integration platform, because sometimes you want to connect, for example, a Salesforce applications with a mainframe application. So you're not starting developing all these things by yourself. You're taking EntireX as a vehicle, your API enabled, your business logic coded in Natural or in COBOL. You hook it in into an integration platform, and the integration platform provides out-of-the-box adapters to many of these cloud applications out there. We will also do this on the screen level with app links and with Conex. For those of you who are running the Adabas SQL gateway, you already have Conex. Here we have made a major leapfrog in the last 3 to 4 years, turning the complete tool user interface into the web, and we are adding more and more functionality, and our goal is to replace, I would say, the little bit legacy Windows GUI tooling around Conex with this new web UI and make it for you just simpler, to move data from A to B. So for those of you who are interested in that, we are also happy giving you a dedicated demo. I have mentioned that Software AG acquired the data integration platform company StreamSets, located in the Silicon Valley. And StreamSets is breathing and living data analytic platforms and cloud platforms. So everything who runs a data lake today within your organization, or a cloud data warehouse like Snowflake, or if you have data streams and event-driven apps sitting in the cloud, and you need to move Adabas data into these systems or vice versa, this is now a piece that you can get from Software AG. You don't need to go somewhere else. And the first thing that we have done right after we have acquired StreamSets is we provide now connectivity of Adabase into StreamSets, by using what we call different data delivery styles. So it could be a simple query, a data access. It could be virtualization. So that means you run a query across multiple databases, or you can move the data batch scheduled, or as a change data capture process, or in an ETL or ELT kind of way. But even if you have more, I would say, real-time requirements, that means whenever a change data record is changing in the database, you want to automatically move this data into the cloud without any kind of manual intervention. And all of that is possible today. So if your management comes up to you and saying, we have a cloud strategy, how do we get Adabas data into the cloud? How do we get cloud data back to Adabas? The solutions are here today, and we are happy, I would say, also as Software AG, that our data integration capabilities around Conex are now getting complemented with StreamSets, focusing on cloud and new analytical environments. Now I'm moving on a different IT infrastructure platform. As you know, Adabas Natural is unique because it can run your application without code change on the mainframe or on Linux or on the cloud. And specifically on Linux, we have released new products. I think for those of you who are running the mainframe, you are kind of spoiled a little bit. Because you are running Sysplex cluster, highly available for many years, also Adabas cluster services. But here on Linux, we were falling short, and that's the reason why we have a new product that have been released this year, Adabas Cluster for Linux, that provides a kind of a multi-node cluster technology to ensure high availability of an Adabas environment. It's already designed to run on virtual machines, container or cloud infrastructures, and it has capabilities to automatically restart whenever one node is failing, the other one is catching up. So here we have not started developing cluster replication by ourselves. We have been working with a technology provider who is doing these kind of cluster replications for decades in the MySQL space, and we have adopted this technology to AWS. Yeah. Similar to the encryption requirements on the mainframe, we also released here a product for Linux. It's a little bit different because the world, I would say the encryption technology on Linux is different than on ZOS, and therefore even the product does the same, encrypting data in flight or data at rest. We're using kind of different established technologies that they're out there in the market for many years, like OpenSSL or key stores that are file-based, or key stores that are provided by public cloud infrastructures. And here we are adding more and more encryption capabilities, for example, encrypting also now the plog or the backup and restore files. And this also is then being supported by the Adabas Manager, by the graphical web user interface that we are providing in order to administrate an Adabas Linux environment. So as with Natural on ZOS, we also delivering new capabilities for AWS on Linux and the cloud. Yeah. So for those of you who are waited since a long time, Adabas Natural on Linux is now supporting multi-fetch support for database, but it's also on statement level. So that means within the Natural application, you can determine how many records you want to fetch and really to refine this kind of caching or fetching based on your application. We have added also new database connectivity for Natural, accessing PostgreSQL and MySQL. And as similar as we have added also security capabilities on the mainframe, we also added security capabilities here around RPC, around multi-LDAP, or also enhancing, I would say, within Natural security, the information we are providing in maintenance log records. As you know, Natural One, the Natural One and only, for some of you, it's already a strategic platform. For some of you, it's a challenge, still transitioning your existing developers on this new platform. We are continuously listening to you. We are enhancing Natural One. Also, feedback that we got for those of you who are running Natural Construct, it's now also supporting user exit models, but also for those of you running large-scale Natural applications with thousands or 10,000s or even 100,000s of Natural objects that's sitting on the mainframe, we definitely also majorly improved the performance so that Natural One can browse, search, and access these kind of objects. And for those of you who want to modernize the user interface, I would say it's the web version of the Natural map editor. We provide a very simple way to build with Natural's programming skills only responsive web applications. And here we are also continuously adding new controls, tree controls, server-side scrolling, new cascading style sheets like Sassy. And we also more deeply integrated Natural for Ajax into Natural One, so that you also, for example, have a dependency view to see exactly where certain Natural parameters are getting used in a certain web user interface. Okay, before I'm ending, and I'm a little bit over time, I'm sorry about this. Before I'm ending my presentation, not my application. I hope I have an application as well, but it's my presentation. It's there is a cloud transformation journey. I know that every one of you has a different strategy around the cloud, yeah, but it's definitely also worthwhile taking a look into it. So you don't need to throw away your Adabas Natural applications if your company decides to move all the applications into the cloud. Yeah, Natural and AWS can be part of that, and we are also proud that we have several customers around the world who already have done that move and run their application in production. But we are not only modernized our products, we also modernize our product trainings. I think you will also hear more about this from my colleague later on. But here we have self-paced e-learnings. We have badges, kind of a new way of certify your skills. Yeah. So I've added here also the links for you to take a look on this later on. If you have requirements around training, you always can approach the local team around Becky, but also you can feel free to send an email just to myself. By saying that, I want to say thank you, and I'm turning back to you, Becky. As I don't know if we have any kind of questions that came up.
Yeah, there was one question, Guido. Mike asked, when you say apps in the cloud, our Linux VMs are in the cloud. Does that mean our apps are in the cloud as well?
Um, First of all, a natural AWS application can run in the cloud. When I'm referring to cloud apps, I think we have customers developing new apps based on Java or scripting technologies completely from scratch in a greenfield approach in the cloud. Yeah. So if I'm referring to apps there, then I'm meaning these complete new developed applications, but then they are getting integrated on an Adabas Natural applications, either sitting in your data center or running in the cloud, but they can talk to each other. Yeah, they are not. I would say it's the next generation, what we called in the past client applications or front-end applications. So that's I would say it's a new style of applications that customers are developing for the cloud and in the cloud. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Guido.
Okay,
Appreciate the insight and everything that you had to impart to us. So, and you know, it's always good to see all the new enhancements being made to Adabas and Natural, regardless of where it's running on the cloud, the mainframe, Linux, whatever. Okay, thank you, Guido. So our next session is going to be presented by Eric Wood and Bob Jeffcott. And the title is Mainframe Modernization and Cross-Agency Data Sharing at Delaware Justice Information Systems. So Eric, in particular, is going to be talking to you about a lot of the activity going on at the criminal justice agency there at Delaware. And Eric is the SE assigned over there at Delaware, so he's working with with DELJIS, with courts, HiDeb, and everybody over there at the Central IT group. So anyway, Eric, I'm going to turn it over to you. So why don't you go ahead and share your screen?
Okay, can you see my screen all right?
I can.
Good, good. Thank you, Becky. Hello, everyone. Yes, I have the pleasure of presenting to you the great state of Delaware's criminal justice information system, which uses software AG's technology to modernize as well as integrate their legacy mainframe applications. Now, although this state is small in stature, they're very large in when it comes to their CGIS environment. So let me just get started. So a little history before this. The state of Delaware has been a customer of Software AG for 35 plus years. And the Delaware's Department of Technology and Information, DT as we refer to it, is the state's central IT organization, which is chartered to deliver services to other agencies and organizations within the state, as well as to exercise the governance over the technology and the direction and the investments of the state of Delaware. So one of the organizations that they support is DELJIS. DELJIS is the Delaware Judicial Information System, and they support the entire CGIS applications for the entire state of Delaware. Now, DELJIS maintains this. DELJIS maintains this criminal history that happens in the state from the beginning to the end of the whole process. And Delaware CJIS is one of the most cohesive systems in the entire United States. So with over 10,700 users, DELJIS produces and consumes information from most government, state agencies, as well as federal agencies. It uses Adabas. I'm going to say this again. It uses Adabas as the only repository for all of the criminal information. And they do something unique there. They use a single identifier to tightly integrate the information that is stored within the system as it goes through the various criminal processes, like going through the courts and when someone gets arraigned. All that information is tied based on that single identifier so that as it moves through the system, it is carried out throughout the system. So, DELJIS supports countless government agencies, and they support spiders out through these agencies. So I think they have identified over 400 agencies right now that actually they touch or touches them and to obtain some information that is stored within the CJIS system. But it's not always all about the Delaware state agencies. Even non-agencies, the non-government agencies, and other states and other principalities touch the data that resides in the DELJIS system. They support all law enforcement agencies, including all of their state and local police, the constables, code enforcement officers, ATB enforcement officers, even federal agencies that pertain to Delaware. They even share statistics and research to various agencies that need that information if that information is approved by their governing board. And they are very highly integrated with the Judicial Information Center. And the Judicial Information Center is like the DELJIS of the courts. They both have their own files that exist in Adabas, but they share those files together. And most recently, they have integrated cameras on the side of school buses so that they can catch the violators that pass the school buses as they're loading their children, putting them in risk and at danger. So DELJIS uses several software AG products that are mainly mainframe centric, but they are currently adapting our open system products. Their most core and critical of all is Adabas. This is their single repository, as I mentioned earlier, that contains all the criminal history within the state. They traditionally use Natural for communications back to Adabas. And they leverage EntireX ACI to access data on ZOS, Windows, and Linux environments, which is especially in containers. They use EntireX RPC with web methods for their web services when they're facing more public components to their back end. And most recently, they have quickly adopted to beginning to use Conex in containers on their Linux platform and Windows for testing. And they are planning to use Conex in the near future. Like I mentioned earlier, they are tightly integrated with the court system with JIC through their files. And just like JIC, DMV is tightly integrated with them with data that they share, as well as with some web services that are exposed to them. They use various web services with their Department of Children and Youth and Family. And then they also produce products through Natural that are shipped yearly and monthly to the FBI using ACI and the old-fashioned FTP. And again, they support all of the state and local law enforcement through a desktop platform that is called LEASE, which stands for the Law Enforcement Investigation Support Suite. And this is all carried over, used in EntireX, and now they are starting to support it with Conex. So let's talk about Adabas on ZOS. As mentioned earlier, Adabas is their core system of records for decades for SIEGES. It contains complex file structures that represents various aspects of how their data is needed to be stored. The data is stored in with all of the criminal history as well as non-critical history is stored on Adabas. Data like all their warrants, anything that deals with an arrest, their criminal disposition, which contains information of those incidents from the arrest to the process within the court systems. They maintain offenders records and the history thereof. They keep track of sex offenders that are registered within the system. Even concealed weapon permits are stored within Adabas. And this is from the applying for the permits, getting approval, and the tracking and expirations of those permits. This is just to name a few things that are maintained in Adabas so within Delaware, I got a note that they average about 2.9 billion Adabas calls per month. And I'm told that this is probably going to increase more with the new adoption of Conex. So Natural is, again, their traditional way, how they communicate with Natural. They have about 18,000 programs today in production, and they access them both online as well as in batch. And most of their criminal functions are available through a 3270 interface using their natural maps as they're designed. And most of their non-mainframe products with uses a natural object, and this is all done through EntireX, both RPC and ACI and web methods to communicate back to Adabas. So historically, with EntireX ACI, this was their main method of integrating back to Adabas with their external products. Most of their programs use ACI in some type of extent to access APIs and for authentication, as well as other functions. Now, I mentioned that lease application. It uses this function exclusively to get access to the DELJIS information. All of the information in lease goes through ACI, such as all of their incident reports, their vehicle crash reports, as well as their automated warrant system, and they keep track of all their drunk driver reports as well. Now, most of their web-based application uses ACI, like their traffic violations, or what they call their e-ticket, which is exclusive to communicating back to the mainframe. The criminal rap sheet system uses ACI. And even their newly developed Conex products uses ACI during their login stage, so that they can go and get the credentials of the users that's trying to access the data through DELJIS before they hand off access through Conex. So they also use ACI for more of their complex structures when they're doing communication back two-way with the FBI, and with the FBI systems like the AFIS system, which is the automated fingerprint identification system for Delaware, the NCIC application, which is the National Crime Information Center, which is in the United States, it's a central database for all crimes. So Conex is really big here within Delaware. It's a big initiative for DELJIS moving forward. Conex is rapidly expanding the use of Conex in a various of systems. Some of the systems that are in production now, and more are coming soon. So, and this is a big shift for them using Conex. The first project that they implemented was the SIEGES identification system. And it's an Open ID compliant identification system that is basically a single sign-on system that is exclusive for the law enforcement of those 10,700 users. So what they do, they capture, again, their profile information to provide that information to anyone that wants to integrate with DELJIS using either OAuth or Open ID to get there. This is a very important for them because CGIS is being modified, continuously modification, and the whole CGIS system is in a modification state. Because as their customers or as their providers are starting to make use of cloud services, SaaS application, DELJIS is trying to meet the need to modernize its infrastructure through a variety of solutions, and this solution includes Conex. They have to make sure that all of those cloud providers are authenticated properly in order to use any of that information within the DELJIS system. They are also in the process of redoing the lease system, which is shifting from a database a desktop application to a quasi web-based application, and this will be used mostly just with Conex to get access to the data, the back-end data. And they believe they're going to start with their traffic enforcement system first, rewriting the e-ticket system. And they got that input from the different officers, and they felt that that is what's being needed, the first thing that needs improvement. And another big project that they'll be leveraging Conex with is something that we've all heard in the news today, and it's about the Clean Slate Act. So in Delaware, they are implementing the Clean Slate Act bill. And this act creates an automatic expungement process for adults and juveniles that was charges that are eligible for mandatory expungement. And Conex will play an integral role in this component in this process. So it is allowing them to easily implement this bill, and in a way that will take them much longer than in the normal process that they do today. So looking at Conex on Linux, they'll just feel that they are doing this in a unique way than most, in most agencies that are using the product. So currently, all of their products, the newly developed products are .NET applications where they try to stay on the most bleeding edge of Microsoft .NET releases. They leverage containerization exclusively for the deployment of the products. They typically deploy on a Rocky Linux 9, which is a Linux 9 compatible platform, and they deploy Docker containers under Podman. So those containers, and this is where they feel they're unique at. Their containers contain a base image of Conex, and they built this their own custom themselves. So this image contains just the mandatory pieces of Conex that they need to build a more thin image as possible of their containers. They use the standard ODBC connection because when they're testing in their software in Windows, they needed the ODBC connection. And then when they deploy those tested and completed applications from Windows onto Linux, they use the Unix ODBC connection. And they do this flawlessly because there's no code changes that need to happen when they deploy this from Windows to Linux. Even the DSN names and their CDDs are exactly the same. Their containers are loaded, they load their appropriate Conex data dictionaries from a shared volume so that they have the ability that they can at any time swap them out to make any updates to the schemas at any point. And this has worked well for them. They're very excited about it. They've already deployed over 400 applications using this method, and they're very excited to deploy more. Their next step is to use DataSync. They're very excited about this product, that this will be a very important product to their users that produce a data warehouse. This data warehouse is used by the Delaware State Police, where they use this data for business analytics. So today, this data warehouse is being populated by an old, outdated .NET application, and it has no optimization with this type of application. They do a lot of inserts and updates and deletes, and this is all done by the application setting flags within the database, and that's how they read to see which records have changed within database. But they feel by using Conex DataSync, they can actually take the data and synchronize using the Conex and connect the 2 points, and they can seamlessly move the data across through to their SQL Server data warehouse and more seamlessly. But there is one catch to this. When they built this application, it was based on their users' definitions of what they wanted to see in a data warehouse, and currently the schemas do not match the database files. So they're in the process of now trying to come up with a method to remedy this, and so this is the only thing that's holding them up from using Conex Data Sync. But they are in the process, and they're almost done. They're waiting for some resources to free up, and they come up with the best solution with that. So with that said, I'm going to turn this over to Bob. Bob is going to talk more about the more technical reasons for using our software to do mainframe modernization and integration.
Thank you, Eric. Appreciate it. And one thing just to mention that Delaware implemented these solutions very quickly. So I think that was impressive. They were, they modernized their systems very, very quickly. Just a little bit about, Eric had talked about a couple of the different integration capabilities that they were using. One was reusing that business logic through the web methods EntireX adapter, and then of course the data through the Conex adapter. We also integrate at the session level. Some people call it screen scraping, but there are times when each of these solutions, each of these integration methods are appropriate. Sometimes you need simple data, so it's easy to go through Conex. Sometimes you actually need to leverage that business logic, so you want to use EntireX to call the natural subprograms or the ACI programs. And then sometimes either the business logic isn't separated from the presentation logic, or you might want to go through several different screens. There may be some different processes where you have to hit PF keys and things like that to get the appropriate information. Or sometimes you just don't have those mainframe resources. So we enable the ability to use app links to connect at that session level. And all three of these can be used in conjunction. Delaware's using 2 of them, but we do have customers that are using all 3 accesses. By using one doesn't preclude you from using the other ones. And I know you guys have probably all written interfaces at some point in time to the mainframe, but there really is a reason for trying to utilize these different components. And Eric, if you could hit the next screen here, we'll explain why. The mainframe talks a specific language, but the things that it needs to communicate to typically have changed over time. So those interfaces, those languages have changed. It used to be a simple EBCDIC to ASCII translation. Then SOAP came along with the advent of mobile apps. REST was embraced. And now with SaaS applications, you're seeing more things like OpenAPI, OData, and GraphQL. So those same interfaces might require different forms of communication, and that's where our web methods integration platform comes in. I can wrap those mainframe services, or I can talk from those external services back to the mainframe through the web methods tool. By communicating and wrapping those in those different languages. And then with that, we also have the security concerns. And I think Eric mentioned a couple of those that they had to address at Delaware. They had OpenAPI that they needed to talk to. They used OAuth for some of their verifications. We're seeing now more and more, even on the mainframe side, that there's the single-use passwords. Every time you talk to the mainframe, you need to use a different password. All of those things are capable and seamlessly plug into our app links, our EntireX, and our Conex through the web methods integration platform. And I do just want to talk about one use case that we do have. And Eric, if we could hit the next slide here. What we're seeing a lot of is we're seeing a lot of those low-code, no-code applications and they're great. They're wonderful. They're new systems of engagement to be able to do automated processing, to do things like email, things like web-based, portal-based, app-based interfaces, business rule changes. That was great, but you still have that underlying system of record, right? You have the mainframe, the Adabas Natural application that does that heavy lifting, and you need those two to talk to each other. So using the Web Methods integration platform and using our mainframe integration connectors, Conex, AppLinks, and EntireX, we can talk and communicate between the two. So we're seeing that a lot in a lot, especially in state agencies, because of more of the self-service things that have had to happen in the last few years because of COVID and such. But really, I think what's really important is to understand that these things are easy to communicate between the two different systems, whether it be at the data level, whether it be at the program level. And it is that bi-directional communication that we do enable. And we're happy to talk to you guys more in depth about those. But with that, I think I'm going to turn it back to Becky. And thank you, Eric.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Eric and Bob, and the state of Delaware for sharing your information with us. We're a little bit behind, but it's not a problem because we have a break coming up and we can adjust based upon that. But the next session is going to be Travis Gage, who works for Teachers Retirement Systems of Texas, and Patrick Gould, who works with us here at Software AG, and they're going to talk about the bi-directional API implementation at Teachers Retirement Systems in Texas. So, Patrick, over to you. You and Travis.
Hey, everybody. It's great to see so many people here today. I hope you can all hear me. And yes, we have a live, real customer assisting us today, Travis, as Becky said. And this little presentation we're going to give today extends on what Bob has just said. And this is a live implementation that the Texas Retirement System of Texas has implemented using Natural and EntireX, an integration server. This customer is very dear to me. I live in Texas, but the reason they dear to me even more than that is that my wife is a retired teacher, and of course she gets her pension from TRS. So I'm always happy to see them innovating and doing new stuff. So our agenda today is pretty simple. I'm going to show you the architecture of the two demos we'll do at the end. Then we're going to do the API business cases, and Travis will be speaking to that as to how they used this bidirectional capability. We'll cover a few benefits of using this methodology, and then there will be two demos, and then any questions and answers we can handle the way we're handling them with the rest of the presentation, either now or at the end. I'm not too sure. So the architectures of the two demos today are firstly the natural REST API inbound to the mainframe. These architectures, as I've said, assist with low code, no code, modular modernization on mainframe applications. And we're seeing more and more of that approach, especially amongst the health and human services organizations in the USA, as to there's no big bang approach anymore. It's let's put stuff in production on a piecemeal basis using low code, no code. In this architecture, we're going to take the subprogram to be called from the client app on the right and use the IDL extractor within EntireX designer in the middle to create an IDL file using an RPC server. That's a natural RPC server on the side where the natural subprogram is. An IDL file is the interface description layout of the call. Once we have that IDL file, we can simply right-click on it, and we can generate a web methods integration server connection and API. We can then deploy this REST service with integration server on the left, and it is now available to any client who can call REST resources. Secondly, this is the architecture of the natural REST outbound call from the mainframe. In this architecture, we can take, for example, a Swagger or a RAML file from an existing REST service and use the EntireX Software AG designer again to extract the IDL from these files on the left of the slide. In this architecture, we use Natural RPC to generate the actual Natural client code for you. There's no need to write the code yourself. And using Natural RPC, it will basically put that code exactly in the Natural library that you want to use. Now you could either run the example program that gets generated, and it will call the subprogram that will actually do the call outwards. And then you basically can take the logic out of that example program, include that in your actual logic that you now want to go and call that service. So now we're going to go over the use cases. I have a few more on here just to show you that TRS is amongst many that we are already assisting and have got services running in using all the products, AppLinks, Conex, and Conex. I think my boss will shoot me. And those type of customers are Black Hills Energy that use this in meter reading. We've got the Delaware courts that I think Bob and Eric just spoke about. City of Philly, that's also Eric, if you want to get some more information. We have a few services running at Attorney General of Texas using AppLinks as REST services. Comptroller has a few running, and then South Dakota Gov has been using them for a long time with the Health Exchange. And with that, I'm now going to pass it on to Travis, who is going to talk to you about how wonderfully Texas Retirement System is using Integration Server, EntireX, and Natural.
Hi, everyone. Thank you, Patrick. Appreciate the opportunity to talk to you all about this. TRS has been working at this for last couple of years. We implemented about 10 years ago with some batch bridging between legacy and our job applications and to support our line of business. And there we go. We basically we have the back end overnight process, and in the last 2 years we developed the RTCs, and it's a low code implementation. We trying to support. We have three major services that we're doing that. We have a trust line of business, we have a health insurance line of business, and we have a web service portal. And we're slowly trying to bring in our annuity payroll systems and our retirement applications. And we're currently working on our death claims implementation. And we'll be at the tail end of this. And we just keep identifying new needs. But it's been fantastic. We originally evaluated the APIs for handling handheld devices and payroll medical provider. We needed something for our web self-service portal and pushing data back and forth. The easy part about it was the web service development testing. And once we had our arms around this initiative, replacing the batch was a little more complicated. We had to rewrite a few things, but it was low code, as said. I believe our number one, and I appreciate all the SAG support that we've had over the process. This was kind of handed to us. They came in and did some initial development, and then we've taken off with different ideas. And the implementations, the adoption, it's been a huge success, and our business community is just ecstatic about it. And we keep identifying new solutions, and it's a matter of timeframes now. So we're in the process of putting our last phase of this. It's been a 10-year initiative to put these line of business applications up for our pension, and we're in the process. Right now, we developed the majority of it. There's one or two maybe that we might get to. I'm not sure. It depends on the duration that we keep our mainframe. We've identified it for retirement, and we're working towards that with our last phase of this line of business application. The trust application is what TRS uses. So what was hard originally, this was like I said, this was handed to me from a gentleman that did have Eclipse experience, and the number of tools involved. I believe I wasn't familiar with Eclipse, so just getting my arms around the tools. I believe that was a little. Once you're there, again, it goes back to what was easy. The web service development and testing were easy. Once you kind of understand what it is, there's only a few steps to generate these things. The testing is really quick. What we kind of struggled with was we do have a pretty complex environment. We set up, it was highly complex with our test environments and code versioning. We have 8 development servers, 5 QA. We have training, performance, production, and maintenance, emergency areas. And each of these are coordinated through our integration servers in our middleware department in our infrastructure. So another thing that was hard was the setup. I mean, it's it took close coordination between developers and the infrastructure support group to make sure all the settings were correct. We just tested as we went along, and we made adjustments, and things are running really smooth. I cannot say enough about the benefits to the business. The immediate data updates and real-time decision making are game changing for our business. This supplemented the batch line of business legacy bridging with the real-time communication processes. So, like I said, over the last couple of years, we've been replacing some of the LOBs, some of the overnight stuff with real-time communication, and we sort of have it as a safety net. It's a redundancy factor. We kind of leave the stuff running in the back end in case there's error processing during the real time. But again, we have ways to get around that. The increased productivity and the efficiency of our business operations is what's most noticeable, and that and the satisfaction from our business group, the success and the adoption of it. We have the ability to share and communicate issues with legacy and the multiple TRS line of business applications. So the Trust application, our new Java application, it handles membership and demographics, and our legacy applications still handle the annuity payroll functions. So until all functionality is in one system, we're going to continue to use RTC and batch bridging. So we started this with REST a few years ago. I'm sorry, with SOAP, and our current development has moved towards REST. And Jason, and there's a lot of well, we're just moving forward, and our future use is a little limited. Anything's possible right now, but businesses identified some processes that would benefit from real-time communications, and some might move forward, some might not. We are planning to retire our mainframe in the next few years, and we're looking for the cost benefit of implementing additional web services. Right now, they've met all the needs that we originally designed. They've satisfied all our use cases, and our company is extremely happy with the product. As far as who was involved, the legacy developers, middleware infrastructure, our database group, Java developers, and our TRS business users, it was an all-hands effort. And due to the success and the adoption, the RTC capabilities were incorporated into other development projects beyond what we originally targeted. So overall, the RTC has been a huge success at TRS. This is just a quick little example of our forward, inbound, outbound processes, forward and back bridging, mainframe calling Java or ESB, and likewise Trust calling ESB back to legacy for information that's returned forward. So the quick answers are back bridging. That Trust is always looking for something off some payment demographic information off of legacy, and these RTCs that we can immediately pass back the information. Processes can move forward. There's no wait till tomorrow. Exception processing. It's immediate. The real-time results are just, like I said, game changing. If we could go on to that next one, this would be a little more current example of what we've developed recently at TRS. The membership with our legacy applications. The membership, we have, like I said, the health insurance line of business, and we have our pension line of business. And our membership is our main data flow. We handle this for our new members, ads and updates. We have retirees and our beneficiaries. All have to be in sync across legacy and the Java applications for these processes to work successfully. So this is a quick little. It's basically the processes Trust is calling our ESB to add or update member records, including retirees and beneficiaries. Our ESB formats the ideal parameters and calls the EntireX web service to invoke the legacy objects. And in response, our legacy response with processing results, sends exception email to business, and decision making is real time, and the applications just flow. We did put in something at the tail end. We communicate errors, exception processing for the real time through email to our business staff. They can work the email, identify. We can just identify what areas are having issues, and we can address those without having to dig through logs. I mean, we also have the RPC logs, very useful. But I'd say one of the best, one of the big advantages of this is the IDEO testing. we have so many environments, and people fire things off. They just want to know if it worked, why it didn't work, and we can use the IDL tester. We can immediately point to different environments, and we can get test results. It's a very simple tool. Like I said, once your hands are around the tools, using them is very simple. Everything's just a few clicks away. The code is not complicated once you're familiar with it. So hats off to the product and the advantages it's provided our business, and we're looking for new uses before our mainframe has left. Some of the cases that we considered are customer service portals. Mainframe processing, needing data lookups, SSN verifications, billing addresses, its demographics, and billing information. Again, it was a low code application modernization. We focused on our retirement setups, including payroll or death claim processing, sufficing our line of business applications and our web service self-service portal, with focus on members and retirees and beneficiary synchronization. And the initial, this all started with trying to bring in our second line of business, our health insurance, and the main thing we needed was eligibility determination for health insurance coverage. So that, with our mainframe tax integration and financial services, we found uses for RTCs across multiple applications, integrating all back with legacy. At the same time, legacy is being written into the main application. So it's a true bi-directional, and it's a fantastic solution for where we were at in our processes.
Thanks, Travis. That was brilliant. Thank you so much. So I'm just going to quickly do the benefits as a whole. Again, it's an easy to use Eclipse-based design tool. And of course, as Travis said, that did take a little bit of time to understand Eclipse. And we found that with many people, especially around Natural One as well. It's that basic understanding of Eclipse. And once you understand Eclipse, you're good to go. And you know all the little, I'd say one of the it's probably one of the greatest features of Eclipse is there's so many ways to do the same thing. But of course, you only learn that as you go. It's intuitive, and in the end, it's a single UI for all development process, whether you're doing EntireX, integration server, app links, etc. You don't have to jump from screen to screen. Very easy to learn. In the end, once you're very comfortable with it, it definitely has a faster development turnaround time. And of course, if you want to integrate it into your DevOps environment, this is available to you too. So we have 2 demos to go. We're trying to catch up. So I'm going to, I believe Becky's okay with that. I'm going to show both of these demos, but if you want to take that break, then you can, and I'll just play these 2. They're about 10 minutes worth of video, and I'm sure you can catch up on those as well. They are available on YouTube, but if you do have to get up, maybe it's a good time now, and then I'll just play these 2 videos for you. These are the 2 demos of the 2 scenarios that we're talking about.
Yeah, this is Becky. Yeah, so we're going to start the next session at 12:30 Eastern, which is in just a little over 10 minutes. So this would be a good bio break, or just watch the demo videos. Go ahead and start those things up, Patrick.
Hi, this is Patrick Gould from Software AG Government Solutions. Bob Chefcott and I would like to present to you this short video and show you how easily you can expose natural objects as REST APIs to your modern low-code, no-code applications or other REST API consumers. You can see the architecture of this process where we take mainframe natural objects and extract the parameter data areas into an IDL file. We then REST API enable natural objects with web methods EntireX and web methods integration server from the IDL file. Lastly, we expose the REST APIs for use by the REST API consumers on the left of the drawing. We create a natural project within EntireX, and then we start a new IDL extractor for natural. We choose natural RPC with impersonation in this example. Natural RPC behind the scenes presents us with all the natural objects that could be REST API'd. We deselect them and just choose the ones that we want to create a REST API from. The process will now present us with the in and out fields that are in the parameter data area, and we map them accordingly. Once we have finished mapping all the fields as in or out, we can then finish the process, and we will be presented with the IDL file inside of the EntireX perspective. We can now right-click on that IDL file in the EntireX perspective, and we can test it with the Software AG IDL tester. This provides us with a GUI where we can set up the broker ID, and we can ping it to make sure we have connectivity, and thereafter we can add the parameters that we would like to use to test if this actual service is working. Once we're happy with the testing, we can now also right-click the IDL, go to Integration Server, and generate the IS Integration Server connection. We can either create or update an existing adapter connection. We must also make sure we make this a REST API resource. We can now choose the parameters that we want as part of this web service, REST service. And we add pieces like the connection name, the folder name, the broker ID, the server address, and then a user ID and password. We now create the REST resource and give it a folder name and the actual REST resource name. Our service within Integration Server is now ready to be tested. So we go to the service development perspective, and we can drill down and we can right-click on our service, and we can run it as a service to make sure it works as we believe, and then we'll be ready to be tested from a product like SOAP UI. So we provide the parameters needed. We can now run that service from within Integration Server, and we can check that the data returned is correct. Once we are happy with that, we can move on to actual Postman, and we can call the REST service as if any other low-code, no-code application is calling it, and we can see if the results are the same. They should, of course, be so, but it's just another way to make sure that everything is working as desired. I really hope you enjoyed this video, and come back to us for more. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.
Okay, and this will be the last demo of the day for me for this presentation. Again, this is just to tease you a little on what you can do. We welcome you to please get hold of us, and we can sit down with you in Zoom, Teams, whatever, and make sure you get going. That's the way we've done that with all of our customers so far. So.
Hi, this is Patrick Gould from Software AG Government Solutions. Bob Jeffcott and I would like to present to you this short video and show you how easily mainframe natural objects can call REST APIs within your modern low-code, no-code applications or other mainframe modernization projects. All of this is achieved using web methods EntireX and Integration Server. You can see the architecture of this process, where on the left of the drawing is our REST APIs that need to be called from Natural. We consume the REST API RAML, for example, into Integration Server and use EntireX in the middle to generate Natural client code that can call the REST API. We can now add the callNat statement to our Natural programs that need to call the generated Natural. The Natural object on the right can now call the REST API on the left. We will now demo this process to you. First of all, we go out to the Swagger Pet Store and look for the RAML file that we want to use to create this service. We then go to our project and create a new REST API descriptor. We give it a descriptor name. We decide whether it's going to be Swagger or OpenAPI. We finish the rest of those fields and we pull in the URL to create the actual file that we want to create an API from within the service development perspective. We then hit the finish button and move on to the next step. We'll now choose the file within the Project Explorer, and we can now test this to see that it actually calls out to the REST application that we are trying to get to. So we do this by creating a run as service. We pass the parameters that we want, and we can test if this particular service is working before we create the IDL file for Natural. We are now ready to generate the IDL. So we go back into our project, EntireX perspective, and we say new IDL for web methods IS. We choose a new and existing connection. We decide what the language is, and it's Natural, and we create a new REST server. We now decide what features we want to do and call from the actual service. And we then can proceed with the rest of the fields, and we can then finish this process, making sure we have the right broker and RPC connections, and we can then finish, and we will have created an IDL file. We can now see the IDL file inside of the Project Explorer, and the next step is to now generate the Natural client code from this particular IDL file. And to do that, we go new, and we will do Natural, and we'll generate the RPC client. We choose which objects we want. We go next, and we will actually generate the Natural code that we can now pass on to the mainframe. EntireX will now use a Natural RPC server to move that code up into the mainframe so that we can test it. We can now log on to Mainframe Natural, and we can see the objects that were generated. In this case, the ones we want to test start with get, and we'll run the get user 2 program that will
Hi, everybody, it's Becky. Somehow or other, Patrick got muted there at the end on that demo, so we lost a little audio, but the links are there. You can watch those demos at any time. If you haven't had time to get up and stretch your legs, go ahead and do that, and we will start in approximately 2 minutes with the next session, which will be Mark Combs talking about Adabas and Natural, how to train new talent, use managed services to augment your staffing requirements. We're doing a lot of that these days with the Software AG Professional Services Group. So get up, stretch your legs, and Mark will start in approximately 1 minute. Hey, Mark, if you're ready, let's go ahead and get started. And Mark, you're on mute.
I am on mute, yeah. Hold on just a second, sorry, I apologize. Okay, now, can you hear me?
Certainly can.
Good. All right, welcome everyone. I'm Mark Combs. I'm the Vice President for Professional Services for both delivery and business development within the Americas region, which includes all of North America for our Adabas Natural technologies, as well as the Web Methods product stack. I'm going to talk a little bit today about skills gaps concerns that we're seeing more and more frequently throughout discussions with our customers in regards to people beginning retirement and other things that are occurring. So from the perspective, we'll look at some of the Software AG professional services that Software AG provides. We'll take a look at an overview of application and database managed services just in general from the perspective of different types that we offer. We won't go into too much detail into the full application managed services and full database managed services, but I would like to just briefly touch on some aspects of how those work with Software AG and our customer base. So with that, some of the support services, and these are available onshore, nearshore, or offshore. Some of the support services that Software AG provides, of course, is performance and tuning, upgrades, assessments, and helping you within your Adabas Natural upgrades or any of your Software AG technology stack upgrades. The thing I'll focus on more today is going to be around the managed services, both for database administration as well as the application management. We do hosting in the cloud, so we do offer hosting to AWS, Azure, or Google, standard operation support, and also modernization from the perspective of either integration or screen modernization. Some of the standard implementation services that most people on this phone are probably familiar with is QA management, upgrades, installation, all the way from the beginning of a project lifecycle through requirements gathering, analysis, and design, all the way through implementation of a project. We also perform those services. The other thing that we do, if you don't want to look at a database managed services path or an application managed services path where Software AG could be helping support that and managing the aspects of that, and you still want to look at enabling an internal team member or bringing someone on board from the outside, we can come in and perform what we call skills gap analysis to determine a roadmap or a path that a new individual that you may want to onboard would need to go through so they could be, effective and efficient and either, developing Natural or becoming a DBA or using Natural One or whatever that is. We do offer things like boot camps, we do mentoring, we do coaching. There's all kinds of different things that we can provide from that perspective. And then we also offer certifications. So just to ensure that, the resources gain their knowledge that is going to be sufficient for your organization. From an application and database managed services perspective, we can go all the way from staff augmentation, where we just provide you a resource and you manage that resource's day-to-day activities, all the way through a full managed services. From a staff augmentation perspective, it's usually just a resource that we provide you. You're going to manage that resource. It could be on a time and materials basis, or you may want to have the resource, full time. We have several customers that are doing that now. There's different cost models for this option as well. Support services is a little bit more specific in regards to our day-to-day interaction with you as a client. So we also do things like, after-hour support for production. You can call into us. There's some 24/7 opportunity there for you as well if you need us, during that time period. And then the full database managed services is where we're your managed service. We come in, we work directly with your business users, we work directly with IT. We do everything for you from that perspective, and also provide the resources, of course, whether it's database administration or application managed services. So when you look at application managed services, this is standard for your natural database development activities. Some of the functions that you can see, and I won't read through all of this, but it's a standard thing that a natural database analyst may do around analysis, any recommendations, requirements gathering, all the way through the system development lifecycle, and even, of course, maintaining the application. So if you need either enhancements or additional feature functionality or just maintenance of the applications, maybe you're moving off to in 5 years to a COTS-based application, and you want to focus your resources more on that aspect of going forward, we can absolutely come in and help support the existing database and the natural application from a maintenance and enhancement perspective. We do things like we'll identify what the environment and the operating model is going to be as well. So we take care of your non-production and your production environment. And it's a pretty simplistic process. We do use Jira to manage a lot of the activities on full application managed services and database managed services. The biggest difference between the two is going to be your functions. So what the individuals are required to do from a task perspective. I think one of the nice things about a full managed service is that we do have service level agreements in place. So for instance, if you need us within a certain time period, we have a service level agreement in place. Like for instance, if it's a production down or something of that nature, all of this stuff can be negotiated with any customer that we're working with. The coverage is usually remote. We do have customers that are okay with remote, especially since COVID happened, but periodically they're going to want us on site, and some people may want us on site once a month, once a quarter, whatever that may be, and we're absolutely open to doing that as well. We would be the primary and secondary support for your application managed services. We would also just ensure that we have a knowledge base that's expansive enough to take care of your needs as a customer. We would have not just a few resources that we're contractually obligated to provide to you. We would also have other resources within our AMS team that may be secondary subject matter experts. But the nice thing about that is if someone gets sick, if someone leaves the organization, whatever it might be, we definitely make sure that we have a knowledge base there that can come in and back up, so you're not impacted as our customer. Daily activities, is a standard, normally 8 by 5 Monday on whatever time zone you're in. So this says Eastern time zone, but again, we try to ensure that we work the business hours for the customer. We have customers globally, and we always try to ensure that that's the time frame that we're working on them. And of course, after hours implementation support as well, we do have that. So we do participation in anything that you might be doing, like production implementation or go lives or whatever it might be. We're absolutely going to be there to support that. And then 24 by 7, 365 on-call production support, because everybody knows that a lot of applications built in Adabas Natural are mission critical applications that do run 24 by 7, 365. And we also know that we don't want those applications going down. It's not frequent, if at all, on Adabas Natural, which is nice, but it can happen. So we're there to support that. I'm not going to go through this. All this is a service level agreement example. All of this is negotiated between the client and software AG, basically saying, if it's a standard or critical or crisis incident, what's our response time to get back to you? What's the communication process? How do we get a hold of you? All of those good things that are needed, and those are always put within the statement of works. But it's negotiated with each customer differently. Again, we do use a process with Opsgenie as well as with Jira, so you can actually go out and open a ticket. You would have your own email address that you could go to as well. That email address gets executed or gets executed through Jira, and then what would happen is it not only sends an email to the AMS team, but also will call the AMS team, whoever's the team lead that's on call. It will actually physically call their cell phone. It gives them so much time to respond. If they don't, it's going to call the next person in line, because we want to ensure that we're meeting all service level agreements with the customer. Database managed services. It's extremely familiar or extremely similar, sorry, to AMS. The primary difference between the two is going to be the functions that are performed. But the actual operating models and primary and secondary resources that support you is pretty much the same. This is not an all-inclusive list. There's some customers that may want to negotiate other things or may add additional things into this, but this is pretty standard. The DBA functions, you'll see that they are standard DBA functions. And again, this is full database managed services. We still offer this support as secondary, staff augmentation or just support services where you may already have a DBA. But we are seeing customers more and more. And it's interesting because we're starting to see a lot of customers on the application managed services side that have lots of resources retiring. I believe I spoke to a customer just recently that has 20% headcount open on their Adabas Natural programmers. And they have quite a large group of staff members. And then I believe I have another customer has, based on their retirement roadmap, about 45% of their resources will be retired over the next 2 years. And they have a lot of resources. I believe it's around 60 resources. So it's pretty significant. We talked about generational change and challenges and skills gaps and staffing concerns years ago, but we're definitely seeing it start to come to light. Probably on a weekly basis, I'm speaking to someone about the support that we can offer around this. The service level agreement's very similar. It's negotiated between the clients. We still have the standard critical and crisis incidents where, crisis, of course, is going to be production down. We're there 24/7, 365 as part of the service level agreement also. Again, the reaction time, same process. We go in from the perspective from a communication. You're going to open that ticket up. It's going to notify us immediately once that ticket's opened up if there's an issue, or you can call us directly. There's different things that we can do, but we do have numbers. We have the JIRA tickets. They're going to get pinged, and I've worked in this process just to test it out. And I'll tell you now, it's not going to stop until somebody accepts to answer that ticket. It's very persistent, and it needs to be. So we've been extremely successful in our service level agreements as well as this communication process. And Becky, that's it.
Well, thank you, Mark. And
You're
as
welcome.
Mark said, I do my little slider thing here. As Mark said, we're seeing people just retire. Hopefully I'll be retiring in a couple of years myself. So, we got a lot of customers using the professional services offerings here at Software AG to augment their staff. So it's working out really well. So I appreciate the info, Mark, and I'm sure.
Yeah, and we're absolutely flexible on cost models, all that stuff. We can, I think, working with organizations, especially recently, we can get fairly creative, and I don't want cost to scare anyone off. So, we absolutely can be flexible and look at alternatives that's going to be successful for you as a customer.
Thanks, Mark.
You're welcome.
And Patrick Gould's up again. And this, I think, is going to be a very interesting session. If you have questions, feel free to put them in the chat box, because he's going to talk about Natural version 8, 8.2.7 and 8.2.8, what's going out of support. And then, when you go to Natural 9, that's when you have, you kind of have to go to Natural 1, which is the Eclipse editor, not the green screen editor. And Patrick's going to talk about all of that kind of stuff. So Patrick, take it away.
There we go, stuck on mute. Hello again. And today this will be a quick presentation, and we do expect questions. So please post them and we will answer them either now, or we'll basically get contact with you. No issue there. We'll make sure your questions are answered. So today, all I want to do is present to you the current natural roadmaps and then the end of maintenance dates starting already this year. Pretty simple agenda. So we'll do an overview, give you the benefits of why Natural One is the way to go. And we have some very successful customers already, of course, fully implementing Natural 9 for a couple of years now. I'll cover the roadmaps, including the new products that were released this October, what this actually means to you as a company, as a person, the other option for the green screen editor, some useful links, and then, of course, next steps. Excuse me, I messed that one up. Apologies. Okay. In 2018, Software AG announced that with the upcoming releases of Natural 9, that the green screen editor would be retired and replaced with a modern Eclipse-based editor. Natural 9 would be shipped with NDV and Natural 1, and they would share the same license key. The current status of the roadmap is that Natural 827 on the mainframe will reach end of support the end of this year. So please move to Natural 828 ASAP if you want to stay on support. Software AG does have one other Natural release. I'm sure you're all aware of it, 828. And 828 will reach end of support at the end of next year. At that point in time, it will be time to implement Natural 9. And we're here to help you. It does take a bit of time, so please work with us, and we can help you transition to Natural 9. Natural 1 is an Eclipse-based editor and connects to Natural via the NDV server, as you know. At Software AG, we always recommend that you run on supported products. You will still get support, but no new fixes. If you called in an issue with the product that was out of support, any fix that has already been created will be supplied to you. If what had happened to you requires a new fix, that fix will only be available for the new release. I will now cover the actual roadmaps. And if we look, okay, I made a mistake there, excuse me. I'm now going to introduce Natural 1 to you before I actually move to the new roadmaps. So as you know, this came out from our fact sheets and all of that Natural 1 is an Eclipse-based integrated in development environment, IDE, and that lets you as a developer code, test, and maintain applications. Within the same UI, you can expose natural objects or services, as you saw in our previous presentation. You can create rich natural AJAX applications. This is with Natural for AJAX. I don't know if you know that, but Natural AJAX comes for free with Natural 1 and allows you to learn it, develop stuff, and then if you like it, you can purchase the production version. But believe it or not, it's a very, very powerful tool for building rich internet applications. Maybe you only want to do that for in-house applications at this stage, but it's very easy to use, and your Natural developers can do that. Also from this environment, you can use all your mainframe tools. You have the mainframe console, and you can use other Eclipse-based plugins to immediately satisfy end users. So some of the capabilities of Natural 1, and these definitely not all. So there are code templates similar to the good old days with Natural Construct. And once you've created these templates, you can include them in your code, or you can use the ones that are already pre-shipped with Natural 1. Code templates are based on Content Assist. So the same way as you would do Content Assist inside your Natural code, you can also call up templates. You can toggle source lines to comment lines and vice versa very easily. Highlight a few lines, comment them out, comment them back, uncomment them again. Context-sensitive help. Object dependency view. So within the same UI, you can actually see what calls this particular object you're busy editing and what objects call as well. So it's both inbound and outbound. You have an outline view, which is very helpful for being able to get to a particular point in a program, and especially helpful when you edit maps, because you can just go through the outline and click on the field that you need. Reliable instant parsing, hovering error messages. You just hang the cursor over an error message and you will see what it is. You can fold source code. You have automatic upper and lowercase translation based on your preferences. And then you have context-focused code completion. So upgrade today, we really mean that. This is just a quick picture of the UI. I'm sure you're all very familiar with it. We just covered the outline view, the dependencies view. You have your editor in the middle. You have your mapping to the mainframe over here, and then you have your local workspace over here. So time to now is to upgrade. And as I say, we can help you. Please don't hesitate to let us have some Zoom or team sessions with you to get you going. So this is the natural roadmap on ZOS. The highlighted areas are versions that are ready, mainly because of the operating system, already out of support. But you'll see here that Natural 921 was just released, and it will stay in maintenance until the end of October of 2025. We then have the Natural 9.1, and it is supported until the end of 2023. And then, of course, we have the Natural 8.2.8 and 8.2.7 that will be supported until Natural 8.2.7 until the end of this year. I don't know why that highlight is on there. I apologize for that. I'll fix that. And then for Natural 8.2.8, it's the end of 2023. So you get a whole extra year to stay on maintenance. And just for getting a feeling by talking to lots of customers, we do have a lot of customers that are busy moving forward and making sure they have 8.2.8 available before the end of this year. As we all know, ZBSC will be retired, so the end of maintenance of that is basically the retirement date, which is June of next year. On the Natural roadmap for Linux and cloud, yes, some of the Unix products are still supported up until the Unix platforms are also retired, and I think that's next year or the year after. So Natural is now known on the open systems, is now known as Linux and cloud, and of course Windows is unchanged. Just we'll always release a new version of Natural Studio. So support requests. So if you're running on an unsupported version, as I've said, you will all still get fixes that are already available. We already said that the Natural one is part of the Software AG Designer tool. This gives you a single UI again. We already have a lot of customers that are at this at the new versions already, and it is DevOps integrated, fully DevOps integrated. So any customer that wants to implement DevOps or use Natural within a DevOps environment, this is available, and we can help you with that. We have a lot of training, etc. So these are useful links. I'm sure some of you have them. If you don't, let us know. We'll get to you. I think these presentations will be available after the fact. But there is free training, and some of it is trainer-based. So it's not just you going through a whole lot of stuff on the actual site. We have the Natural one, frequently asked questions, and then, as I mentioned, for Natural DevOps, we have a whole portion on our website for that. So please use these links to become more familiar with what we have available. Then, if you still insist on current coverage, we do have Natural ISPF, and some customers have taken this option. And this, if you purchase Natural ISPF, or if you already own Natural ISPF, you have the ability to keep the green screen editor. And of course, this is on ZOS only. And if you'd like more information on that, please reach out to us, and we can assist you. So Becky, that's the end of my presentation on this Natural. So I don't know if we have any questions or if we want to leave that until the end.
There's a couple questions. One is Natural one free?
Yes. As I said, when you get Natural 9, it ships with NDV and Natural One. So there's no need to purchase NDV or Natural One.
So when you move to Natural version 9, you will automatically get Natural One and everything needed to run Natural One.
Yeah,
But the green screen editor will go away in Natural 9 unless you get the Natural ISPF license.
Yes. And we do have temporary keys available for certain situations where a customer requires a few months to familiarize themselves. And I also believe there's some fixes available now that allows you to use Natural One to go against a version 8 and version 9 through NDV. So it just makes the transition a little easier.
Okay. And the next question is, will you be able to get a copy of these slide decks? And the answer is yes, they will go. Nicole could probably address that better than I can, but yes, we will make the slide decks available probably through a website where you can go download the PDFs. And then, hi, Victor. Victor says, can we upgrade from version 8.2.8 to 9.2.1? I'm assuming the answer to that is yes. You don't have to go to 9.1.
No, we don't require that anymore.
9.2.1, yes.
Yes.
So the answer is yes. So, you know, the big thing here, and this is something that we see all the time, is going from Natural 8.2, whether it's 8.2.7, 8.2.8, to Natural version 9, whether it's 9.1 or 9.2, is the losing of the green screen. And like Patrick said, you know, it's not that difficult to make the jump to Eclipse, but you know, I'm an old timer on the mainframe, and I don't do a lot of natural coding, so I do get lost in Eclipse fairly easily. But as Patrick said, you know, Patrick, Eric, Bob, Demos, anybody, you know, from Software AG, we can set up remote sessions to help you guys, you know, get up to speed on Natural 9 with the Eclipse editor instead of the green screen editor. There's another question out here. Does version 9 of Natural support RACF passphrases?
I think Natural, I'm not too sure about Natural 9.1.2, but I'm pretty sure that was added to the Natural 9.2.1. I think I read that. But just
that should be
note to that is
notes,
Becky,
correct?
and I will answer that question to the person as well. So just give me who that is, Becky, and I will.
Okay, it's
find
another question is, if you install Natural 1 and do not upgrade to Natural 9, you would still keep the green screen for a while, correct? And
yeah, but that means you already own Natural 1 and NDV, and then you can basically connect that up to a version 8 of Natural. You would have to purchase that.
Or they can leave their Natural version 8.2 and then install the new Natural 9, because you said that there's a ZAP available that would allow Natural 1 from Natural 9 to also talk to Natural version 8.2.
Yeah, it's a Natural 1 fix, and it just allows you to have an NDV to connect to a 8.2.8 user and a 9.2. You have to be at 9.2.1 of Natural 1.
So I think that might be the way for you to go, is you keep your Natural 8.2 version with the green screen, and then you put in a Natural 9 with Natural 1, and then there is that ZAP for Natural 1 that would allow you to also use Eclipse with Natural 8. But in the short time, you can keep both the green screen and the Eclipse editor.
Yeah, you could use it as a learning pastime. Yeah, your production would still be version 8.
Version 8 goes away completely at the end of next year. 8.2.7 goes out of support at the end of this year. 8.2.8 the end of support next year.
Yeah.
And if you wanted to keep the green screen editor indefinitely, that's a Natural ISPF license.
Correct.
And the next question is, how much is Natural ISPF? Victor, you'll have to talk to Mary, your account executive, or any of you guys would have to talk to your account executive, and they can give you the license costs for Natural ISPF. Another question here is, if you upgrade to Natural 9 but license Natural ISPF, old timers can choose to edit in old green screen editors instead of Natural 1. The answer is yes. That's what Natural ISPF allows the old timers who want to stay on green screen to do.
Yes.
Yeah, you can go completely Natural 9, not have any Natural 8. Natural ISPF would give you the green screen editor capabilities. Okay, any other questions? If not, thank you all very much, and thank you, Patrick. I knew that Natural 8 and Natural 9 with the Eclipse editor versus the green screen would be an interesting topic for everyone. So our next presenter is Nicole Ritchie, and Nicole works for Software AG Corporate or headquarters, whatever you want to call it, and she's going to talk about how to liberate your data for modern analytics. And she's going to be talking about, in particular, about the Conex product and the other product that Guido talked about that we Software AG purchased earlier this year called StreamSets. So Nicole, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Thanks, Becky. Hi, everyone. Is my everything looking good, I hope, here, Becky?
Yep, I can see your screens and I see you on
Wonderful.
camera.
All right. Hi, everyone. My name's Nicole Ritchie. I'm in charge of product marketing for Adabas Natural, as well as Conex, our data integration technology. And I'm usually behind the scenes, so I was really excited when Becky asked me to come speak with you guys to talk a little bit about our new purchase of StreamSets and how that dovetails with our data integration technologies and how you too can liberate your data for cloud analytics. So to get started for this session, I was considering what I should take a look at to sort of bring us back to the table of what's going on in the marketplace. Obviously, most everyone on this call is already familiar intimately with the mainframe. The stats still play it out that the mainframe is here to stay. 71% of executives are claiming that the mainframe applications are still central to their business strategy. IBM is also quoting in their reports that the MIPS are up. But contrary to that, on the cloud, you see what's happening is that, in fact, more data is getting stored there as well. In fact, cloud adoption has more than doubled in the past 7 years, and they're now claiming 60% of corporate data is now residing there. So that's a lot of data on-prem, in the mainframe, also in the cloud. Which leads me to this really interesting fact that I found when I was doing my research, is that enterprises prefer deploying data integration in the cloud over on premises, because obviously data integration is going to be one of the most important things for business operations with so many data sources in so many places. But the fact that they want that integration to be on the cloud versus on premises, I thought was pretty intriguing. And it made me realize that maybe our executives were pretty onto something when they acquired StreamSets. So with the purchase of StreamSets, we have now added a full data integration capability to our iPaaS offering, our integration platform as a service. These are our cloud-based offerings, from integration of our applications with web methods, our Cumulosity integration of things, and our Eris integration of processes. So now with StreamSets, we've now completed our portfolio of full integration technologies on the cloud. So the cloud is really revolutionizing what's going on right now. Because of its extreme computing power and scale, it's able to handle a lot of large volumes. And there's been an explosion of cloud data platforms that are really sort of revolutionizing what's happening in the business. People are using the cloud now to increase their customer engagement, create more interesting applications and new channels into the market, which is basically modernizing how they interact with their customers. It's also seen a huge growth in cloud analytics. The things that you can do there help you test ideas really quickly, see if you can fail fast, and then scale up on demand. But through this whole process is what they're finding is that there's really an increased emphasis and notice about the importance of your core enterprise data, because that information holds the history of really important transaction information, information about your customers, information about your products, And that can't just sit by itself on-prem away from all of this other exciting stuff that's happening. So I want to talk to you a little bit today more about what's happening with data analytics, because this is really what's becoming bigger and bigger on the forefront. Because with all of this new data, cloud data platforms, increased analytics capabilities, Gartner predicts that by 2025, 80% of enterprises are going to be considering data analytic initiatives as essential business capabilities. And that means they want to look at information that's coming across your entire organization, whether it's from customer service to HR to what's happening in R&D. And they're going to use that to figure out where are areas of opportunity for growth, how can we differentiate ourselves, how are we going to manage risk and avoid fraud detection, and how do we optimize our business? Does our portfolio need to be streamlined, or can we do a better job of doing our manufacturing and transportation? So what this means for you, and why I'm telling this to you today, is that they're going to be coming after your data. In fact, they're going to be coming after a whole lot of data to serve up these cloud data analytic platforms. And the question is, with all the data that resides in so many tools out there, how are we going to get that information and liberate it so that that volume and variety of data can wind up in those cloud data platforms so that the analytics and executives can take a look at it, crunch the numbers, and make some of these business decisions? Well, right now, the number of new applications out there on the cloud, SaaS applications as they're known as, and other cloud services generally come with a lot of pre-built connectors. So it's wizard driven, pretty click and go, and they're pretty easy to set and go for a one-to-one integration. However, when we get to on-prem, including our mainframe data, a lot of that is bespoke. And I'm sure many of you are familiar with having to do the FTP dumps whenever someone was looking to do some analytics on some data they wanted, or maybe your system already uploads to a data warehouse on a nightly basis. Or sometimes maybe you're not even included because it's just too much of a hassle. People don't understand mainframe data. They just didn't include it, right? Or again, there's also the traditional tools. So what happens when you've got all this variety of processes in place is you wind up with this ecosystem. This is the modern data ecosystem of a lot of data sources going to a lot of data consumers using a lot of different ways. And this causes an issue in that nothing stays static in a situation like this. You may have built that connectivity between your existing data warehouse and hooked it up into a data lake in the cloud, but that's pretty static. What happens is change. You may have in the source system that the schema changes. You could have a version upgrade on a certain database. You could have format changes that happen along the way. All of these changes that proliferate through the system can cause it to break. And this is what's known as data drift. So that's the new word I've learned recently with our acquisition of StreamSets. And they really help deal with the data drift issue, because data drift is going to break things and it makes you slow down your processes. You can't trust the data that winds up in the analytics side. And but change is going to be normal. So I know you're thinking, what a mess. Do I really, really want to have to deal with this? There's got to be a better way. Well, I'm here to tell you there is. It's called DataOps. This is a practice and technology that takes and operationalizes data integration to ensure that there's the resilience and agility in data pipelines that can help deal with the data drift that we see occur in the previous systems. The way they do that is that there's a single experience for all of the data integration technologies. When you have a platform that has a single view that can manage all of the connectivity from your sources to your destinations. And with that, it's got to be an adaptable data pipeline that's built to handle that change. This will help you avoid the breakages and rework. And an example of this would be if there's a change in a source system, that information can be picked up by a solution like StreamSets and carried over to the destination so that it can be found. However, if the information can't be sent on, a solution like StreamSets can then take that information and send an alert to an administrator, someone who needs to know that there's a problem, that something has changed in a source system and you better pay attention to it. This type of what we would call mission control helps eliminate the blind spots and control gaps in the systems when you can't see everything that's going on. The best part is with DataOps is you're looking for a solution that can run on any platform anywhere. Because the data sources are so prolific on any platform, so must be your ability to integrate and manage that. So let me give you a sense of what the StreamSets DataOps platform architecture looks like. What they've done to handle all this is they've separated the control plane of how you design and manage the actual execution of the data from where the data engine and actual work is happening, which we call the customer data plane. From the control hub, which is cloud-based, obviously, you can build and operate and monitor all of your connections. You can choose how you're going to stream or carry over your data in batch format. You can then choose what tools to use to curate that information, put it in a certain format. You can also send off messages or other activities that help you manage the entire pipeline from beginning to end through basically a click and drop menu screen. So where does Conex come in all this? The Conex capabilities have really helped accentuate the breadth and depth of StreamSets connectors. They have created what's called the Mainframe collector. This collector takes a look at the data that is on the mainframe and helps get it to our destination on the cloud. It does this in a number of ways. First, it collects the information that is in that database and it translates it into a format that can be understood by the destination and read with standard SQL. It really fits in easily with the security. To access the information, you have to do your standard security keys. And then once you have access to read that information, you can then assign each data set at least 7 different levels of access. Next, that information is then presented in a format so that it could be searched and also delivered either in batch or CDC. As we know, most of the mainframe data doesn't come in the structure of tables unless it's relational like DB2. It's really driven by how the code shapes and forms that data. So by taking the copy books such as COBOL, wrapping that around, figuring out how to then translate that information that is in those mainframe databases into a format that's understood by a typical relational model, that makes it easier for people to search, understand, and pull what data they're looking for. This is then fed into at least 70 different predefined processors that are provided by the StreamSets DataOps platform. These processes help you shape that data. You can merge information together, you can parse it apart, you can rename fields and structures, or you could replace it. It has functions that let you do lookups from different other platforms. And then all of that helps deliver your information into the format it needs to be in the cloud data platform at the end. So it's basically analytics ready. So the mainframe collector is just one collector of the many collectors that are available for the StreamSets portfolio. And that's the beauty of this solution in that it takes information, not just from the mainframe, but also information from all the other data sources, and then can fields just a vision of that other picture of it all going into your cloud destination platform, but you're managing it from one single interface. This is the single design experience that I'm talking about. This sits and resides in the cloud. You won't even see here in this first little block, the CDC to vSAM. This is an example where the connectivity is integrated into the StreamSets platform. This little function key here will then pull the vSAM data into StreamSets, where it is then parsed and sent, in this particular case, to a Snowflake database in a customer file. StreamSets can then take that information and you can add on to this structure here to give definitions, whether it's doing customer lookups, whether it's sending out an API to send messages to the customer. Maybe the customer's just done a purchase. It can go on and on and on. So there's lots of activities that can happen with the data after you've gotten it brought into the system with Conex integrated with StreamSets. So that being said, why Software AG Conex and StreamSets? This is just a great solution that can really give you a better modern data integration solution. With the combination of the two, this Software AG now has the deepest database coverage there can be, with Conex's capability to access unique mainframe and legacy data sources, plus StreamSets' ability to handle a lot of the on-prem applications plus the SaaS. They have more hybrid and multi-cloud destinations available together. StreamSets also manages that adaptable data pipeline I mentioned before. So whenever that data drifts, you can continue to take that along with you. You'll have ultimate control. And you'll also not be slowed down by the breakages that happen when your pipelines break because of changes in the source. And this is an all-in-one solution. Basically, the single design pattern can let you handle anything, whether you're doing batch streaming, change data captures, all the various forms of extract, transform, and load, and machine learning. So with that, I just also want to let you know and give you a quick reminder that there's still great use cases out there for Conex data integration. If you're looking just to develop maybe a cloud-based application and you just need a quick lookup to your mainframe database, Conex offers that real-time data access. It's instantaneous, where you can take a quick view into your systems to see the status of the data. Maybe if you've got a application that you're building that needs to be data driven on the web, a direct Conex integration capability is good. If you also are looking to just do some executive reporting and you just need to add something to pull together a couple of elements from various different data sources and have a real-time view on a dashboard, the Conex data virtualization technology is also an excellent option for you because it's very fast and affordable to just get a quick view of your data. And then if you just have to move from one point to the other and it's got to be in near real time, Conex Data Sync is also a great option. So once again, the sweet spot really for Conex with the StreamSets option is if you're really looking to take a lot of multiple sources and provide those into a cloud data analytics platform. So let's show you more. And if you'd like to read a little bit more about it, feel free to visit our website, softwareag.com/Conex, talk to your reps, and I'm sure they can get an expert on the line to give you a little more depth than I possibly could here. But I am very pleased to have had the time to talk with all of you today. So Becky?
Yeah, thanks, Nicole. Yeah, so, Conex has been around with Software AG. They were a partner first, then we purchased them. Now we purchased StreamSets. And, anybody here on the phone from Software AG, Eric, Bob, Patrick, myself, we can always talk about or demo the Conex product and StreamSets and how it's using, moving data to Snowflake or wherever. So we can handle all of that for you. So thank you, Nicole. I really liked your session. The next session and final session. We will do a quick wrap up after the next one, but it's last but not least is Kurt Hansen. And I'm sure most of you on the phone have talked to Kurt or a member of his team. Kurt is the lead guy out in Denver for the Adabas Natural support teams. And Kurt's going to talk to us about the Adabas Natural mainframe, in particular ZOS license keys, and some of the common things that they've seen, you guys, the customers, opening logs on. So Kurt, over to you.
Okay, thanks, Becky. Hopefully everyone can hear me. Just get a confirmation from that.
I can, and I can see your first screen.
Okay, that's great. Okay, as Becky said, I head up on the Senior Director in Global Support, specifically for the Adabas Natural business unit here in the Americas. So today we're going to talk about how license keys are delivered. A lot of this I'm going to go over, I'm sure you might be familiar with, but license keys isn't something really you implement very often. It's obviously when it's a new upgrade or CPU change or MSU change. You get a new license key, and then you have to remind yourself. And sometimes you trip up a little bit, some of the gotchas that goes along the way. So we're also going to talk about how to correctly move a key to the mainframe, linking the key. There are differences on between Adabas and Natural, and I'll also touch a little bit on EntireX. What to expect if there are issues with a key, different types of keys, and then just some tips. So first off, a lot of people come to global support and say, I need a new license key, and that's great, but we have to forward those to the Software AG Logistics Services Center. Now, what the Software AG Logistics Service Center have on Empower, so we'll jump over there. Under products and documentation, there's actually an order form for products or licenses. So if you need a new license key or a new level of product, again, in October, last month, October of 2022, we just released like Natural 921. You might want to order it. This is a place you would go out and order it. If you need a license key, this is a place where you would go out and put in your order. And I'll show you the information that you'll need when you go to order the license key. You can go into Natural and issue the NatQBS command. What we're looking for is verify your CPU ID and your machine capacity. And all that information is provided in that issuing that command. So you can either give us a screenshot or you can pull the information, CPU ID and the machine capacity. Or you can issue or run the utility, the license key utility. There is a display machine command, gives you the exact same information you can see here. Gives you the CPU ID, also gives you the machine capacity. So those are the two important pieces of information you'll need to provide to the Logistics Services Center. Obviously, the product you're wanting it for and the version. Correctly moving the key. I'd like to point out that I'm going to go over some do's and don'ts, but the documentation, we'll go over here. That link is working correctly. Yes. I'm showing the Adabas documentation for 854. It's also in the Natural documentation, but it also gives you in both locations, step-by-step, how to move the license file from what will most likely be an email attachment onto your PC and how to FTP it up into a data set on the mainframe, and then how you can implement it from there. Go back. Again, Natural and EntireX. Do's and don'ts. Do not save the license key from the browser. Some people will get the email, they'll open the key, they'll just click on it. It's an XML file. They look at it in the browser, and then they'll do a save as. We've seen where this can cause corruption. Just download it or do a save as from the email. All transfers must use binary file transfer option. In most cases, that's the default, but we've had some people trip up. If it's not moved in binary format, it can corrupt the key. Never edit the license file. You may look and say, oh, I just need, maybe I got a Natural 8.2 key. Let me just change this to a 9.1. Everything else is the same. There's some hash algorithms going on. It knows the exact same number of bytes that's in the key going through an algorithm. You'll corrupt the key if you try to edit it. And keep the file extension as .xml. Different products have different license keys. Obviously, within a license key, if you ever looked at it, we have the product, either Adabas, Natural, operating system, version. They are unique. And I put a little asterisk here next to AOS, is I think with Adabas 8.5, AOS now requires a license key. Talk a little bit about that in a coming slide. So there are co-products within Natural and Adabas that have their own license keys that you're going to have to be aware of. The license is tied to a CPU. Migration, so when would you need to get a new key? Well, if your CPU ID is changing, you're moving to a new processor, you're increasing the machine capacity, you may require a new key. It's always best to check with Software AG and find out. Or if you're going to go through a disaster recovery exercise, or you have a need to go to a disaster recovery center, you'll require a different key. License keys generally remain the same for an entire major version. So we got a lot of questions when went from Adabas 8.4 to 8.5. Why am I still being sent an 8.4 key? We only check the first version, we're not the subversion. So the question now is, we just released Natural 9.2. Will my 9.1 key work? Yes, it will. As long as you're on the same CPU, Same MSUs, everything is the same. The natural 1 key, 9.1 key will work for 9.2. We deliver on the tapes a data set, a couple of data sets, MLC and with the version number. That's the license utility. Batch utility that's used to check the license file, convert the license file to an assembler source module, display the license file machine data as we saw before. They actually have here, when you get the jobs library for the MLC, this is the latest 137. There are a few sample jobs. For instance, to get the information from the machine, you would run this job here, the machine data. Do a quick browse on this. License check, sample job to check the license file. Again, a lot of times the corruption comes in the transfer of the data. Once you get it up to the mainframe, you've linked up in the load module, you can use the utility here to check and verify that the license file, it did get migrated, it is ready to go, it is valid. And if not, you'll get an error message and you can then determine what the issue was at moving the file up to the mainframe. The license utility is provided with Software AG. As we said, it's contained in its own libraries. You'll get a load library and the source, which we just looked at. You should always use the latest load library as of October 2022. Last month, we released 137. And again, it's used for linking of the key in that jobs library. There was a file called make, which actually will link the key up into a load module. Load modules are needed to be available. If you go that route, we're going to talk a little bit. Adabase has 2 different ways you can introduce the license key. But there are a couple of modules that are delivered in the MLC library that have to be available at Adabase startup. So either step live the MLC load library or move these modules into your Adabase startup. Natural is a little different. Natural, you actually have to link and include one of the modules. The LIC main A module has to be linked in with the natural nucleus along with the natural license key. A little different. And then I decided I would also mention EntireX broker. Much like Adabase, it requires these 2 license key modules to be available at the broker kernel startup. So once the license file has been prepared, you can install 2 different ways when it comes to Adabase. I added entire network. They go pretty much hand to hand. You can convert the license file into a load module called ADA-LIC, and then make it available to the Adabase nucleus at startup. You can also implement, and you could just upload in binary format the license key directly into a file with fixed block with a record format of 80 bytes, and you can just provide it in the Adabase startup with a DD name called DD-LIC. So we can quickly look here in the documentation for Adabase. If you were going to go the load module route, you would link it up. You create a module called ADA-LIC and make it available to the Adabase startup. If not, the DD name for the file would be DD-LIC. And you can see, as I mentioned before, there's a lot of other co-products that have their own license keys. And they fall in the Adabase area the same way. You can link it up as a load module, make sure it's included in the Adabase startup, or you can point to it and add DD names to it. Okay. EntireX only gives you the option of pointing to the a license file, an LICS file, again, record format, fixed block, 80 bytes, and its DD name is just simply called license. Now with Natural, again, you have to generate a NAT LIC license key module. Again, provide it in the jobs library to do that. And it's in the I-70 job, step 104. And then this module is then linked into the nucleus in the I-60 job, step 105. So whether you're using SMA or you're just using the job library, the examples we provide, that's where the linking of the license key and including the natural nucleus are. Natural also does provide you the ability to dynamically introduce the license key with the RCA dynamic parameter. Why would you want to do this? Maybe you're getting ready to swap license keys out this coming weekend. So you got it all linked up. You want to make sure it works. You could actually invoke Natural, use this override, point to the new key, Now, maybe the CPU ID is different, but you'll get an error message. At least that'll confirm, oh, great, it did read the license key. It picked up the new CPU ID because I'm getting a message because that's not the CPU I'm on yet. But now I know this license module is going to work this weekend when I go to introduce it. So a little bit of flexibility here to check it out. If you run into any license keys errors, first place to look, and of course, I'm support, look in the documentation, look up the error message. Here, I'm pulling it up out of the Adabas mainframe documentation. These are the same error codes you will get, whether it's natural or Adabas. They follow the same thing. CPU ID is not defined in your product license. Some of the other error messages. Another place to go out to is in the incident management portal. So we'll jump over there. In the incident management portal, it should look familiar. You could run a search. So maybe MLC1003 was one of, and you're getting it with natural. Okay. What do we got? Well, here's an article, MLC 103 at the start of natural. Maybe this is will help quickly resolve your problem. So we have a number of articles out there around license keys, error messages, what you can do to resolve the issue. And then obviously you can go to the incident management portal, open up a ticket, and explain what's going on, or call us. If you call into support, if you already have an incident opened that is explaining, maybe with some screenshots, it'll just get us going, jumpstart us into trying to resolve your issue. License key behavior on the mainframe. And I believe in the next year, maybe with the next year's rollout, a few things may change. But for right now, if the license file is absolutely missing, so maybe you do Adabas, you're starting it up, you're not providing the ADA-LIC module, and you inadvertently don't have the DD-LIC DD name, the license file is just missing, the nucleus is going to stop. If the hash is incorrect, and again, that is where we talk about don't manipulate the key. If you want to know if the module, if your license key is correct, that's where you can use the LIC utility to double check it in advance. An expiration date has hit. You will get a warning mode, but it will stop for subscription contracts. I don't know, not really on the sales side, how many AWS Natural implementations on the mainframe are using subscription, but be aware, I think you'll start getting warning messages like 30 days in advance that you need to get a new key. If the product code is invalid, so in other words, you inadvertently linked up the natural key and called it ADA-LIC, and you tried to bring Adabas up, it's going to tell you you can't do it. An invalid platform, again, ZOS versus VSE. Other than that, you're going to get, it's just going to warn you. Invalid product version, CPU ID is invalid, disaster recovery ID. So worst case scenario, you're running right along, you have an issue, you switch over your disaster recovery, but you're not prepared to run on that CPU ID. You can contact us, we'll give you emergency keys, but we'll come up, you'll just operate in warn mode. You'll see the others. Natural batch is a little different. We say return code 0. If you're running natural batch, say you're running with a local buffer pool and the key is not correct, you'll get warning messages in the JES log, but the step will still return code 0s. Again, there'll be warning messages. The job will still run. You'll get a return code 0, but you will see that warning message. Now, where it will stop is if you're running zip, like for instance, Adabas zip. If there's something wrong with the license, the Adabas nucleus, it'll still continue to run, but what it will do, it will stop offloading processes and functions to the zip processor. You'll continue to run on the general processor. You'll have to check and see what the issue is, get it resolved for your zip implementation to continue. So types of keys, frequently asked questions. I mentioned before, we saw that when we bounced over and looked at Adabas, there's a number of different license keys that are delivered with zip. Also with Natural, we have Natural for zip under complete, CICS. Now with DB2, IMS, they require license keys to be included with the Natural nucleus, and also the Adabas add-ons, which we had seen before. If you're going to perform disaster recovery exercises, or what your disaster recovery site what the CPU ID and such is going to be, you should contact the Logistics Services Center. Again, you can use that form and go ahead and get your keys in advance, have them ready. You can test them as I kind of hinted along the way. So you're already, worst case scenario, you have to fall over to your disaster recovery site. I also wanted to note, and this was mentioned by Patrick earlier, that with Natural 1, with Natural 9.1, and now with 9.2, you are given Natural 1. It's all part of the package, is like Mainframe Natural for ZOS. You get the Natural Development Server on ZOS, and you will get Natural 1. And the license key you will use for Natural 1, and it seems kind of odd because it probably is on a Windows environment, you do use the Mainframe license key. So when you go through the SAG installer and you're installing Natural 1, prompts you for a license key, you point to your Mainframe ZOS license key, and the handshaking will take place. If there's any issue with that, again, go back out. We have KB articles in the knowledge base. SAG installer asking for a license key. Here's the one that just basically explains license file to install. Natural 1 should be the natural license key used on the mainframe side. So again, we try to, when we close an incident, we try to look and say, okay, what was the root cause of this? Is the documentation, does something have to be clarified a little more? And if so, we try to publish a knowledge base article. And then within the documentation, and again, whether it's database or here, I bounce over the natural, there is a section. It's right below where we talk about transferring the keys from the different hosts, VSE, ZOS, BS2000. There is a frequently asked question area that might, maybe before you get started, you can refresh your mind. It's exactly what I need to do. Why do I have it? How do I get machine data? Specific information that I'm going to need for the license key. And with that, Becky, I think that's it. I don't know if had any questions.
No, I don't think anything popped up, but I did go ahead and put a couple things out to the attendees. And Kurt, thank you.
Okay.
Kurt knows that I'm probably the one that calls him the most with license key questions or problems, more than any of you.
Usual suspect.
Yeah,
Yes.
It's me. Just because I don't do the day-to-day stuff anymore, so it's a little hard for me. Sometimes I screw up. I don't do it, and I didn't FTP it in binary or whatever. But thank you, Kurt. That was really good. So I posed a couple of questions out there to you all. And first of all, let me apologize. Somebody told me that my microphone was crackling, and it's because it was hitting on my sweater's zipper. So I didn't realize it was falling down there and making a crackling noise when I was talking. But anyway, I asked if you guys would be interested if we did maybe a couple of these virtual type user group meetings a year instead of just maybe one a year. And I saw some thumbs up, so that's good. It's not that hard for us to put these on. It's just a matter of us carving out the time and finding out who the speakers are. And then, and in particular, if you guys being the real users of Adabas and Natural, like we had Travis talking today, and we had State of Delaware Criminal Justice provide Eric with some information about their environment. If you guys could present something about your environment, it doesn't have to be all that in depth. It can be technical, it can be not technical, it can be more of the business use cases, that kind of thing. Those are always welcome, because I know you guys probably get sick and tired of hearing us talk all the time. But so we'll talk internally about doing another one, maybe in the late winter, early spring, something like that. And if you would like to present, feel free to reach out to me. I think most everybody has my email address. If not, just reply to anybody at Software AG, and they'll get it to us. And Joy, I saw your comment about you like the sessions we used to do that talked about the new features and how to implement those. For sure, we can do those. I can have Kurt or somebody from his team present more on the tips and techniques, that their team could present, based upon common logs that they see. So yeah, we could definitely do stuff like that. It sounded like there was some interest. And as I mentioned earlier in a chat box, we are going to be doing an in-person user group in Austin, Texas on December 7th. So if you're in Texas, nearby in Louisiana or someplace, and you want to drive over, I know Texas is huge. Patrick lives in Texas, so he never lets me forget how large of a state Texas is. But anyway, feel free to come over, register for that in-person user group. And if you would like to have an in-person user group in your territory, reach out to us. We can see if we can make that happen next year. This year, we're kind of running out of time, but I think with that, I would just like to thank all of the presenters today, but in particular, Travis Gage. I thought Travis did such a wonderful job describing how you guys were doing things from the mainframe using the bi-directional APIs and everything. That's the first time I've actually seen that, and I really did like that a lot. I appreciate Eric and Mark and Nicole and Patrick and Bob and everybody. And no, I didn't present today. I'm just the moderator because you guys have heard me lots of times over the 35 years I've been here. So anyway, maybe next time I'll do something on some database new features and how to implement those. But with that, I do want to thank you guys for attending. I know we went a little bit over, but I think I found it worthwhile, and I hope you did as well. And it was so good to see so many familiar names out there. So hi to everyone. So thanks, and enjoy the rest of your day. And if you have
Thanks,
anything, put it in
Becky.
the, yeah, if you have anything, put it in the